Yes, so this is Thomas from AgileVentures. Welcome. I'm here with Jenny and Daniel, two of my students at Craft Academy. Welcome to AgileVentures. So we are currently running a small little course in AgileVentures called AV 102. I think it's also named something about the introduction to what remote pair programming or managing distributed teams. Yes, managing distributed teams. That's the title of that course. And one of the things that we challenge our learners with in that course is to participate or take active part in the AgileVentures community, because the community itself is all about working on projects and collaborating with developers all over the world, building stuff together, etc., etc. And one of the things that we kind of noticed among our members and some new members, especially, is that people are a little reluctant to participate in hangouts like this one that is being recorded, being published to YouTube, where some potential viewers could see when they struggle with code, or make mistakes, sometimes silly mistakes, sometimes really bad mistakes, etc., etc. And some members feel that, oh, this is exposing me a little bit too much to the outside world on showing up my flaws and stuff like that. And so that's one thing I would like to talk about today. Another thing that we've also noticed is that some people are a little reluctant, even if you're okay with having yourself published on the internet, they're still reluctant on joining pair programming sessions because they feel that, shit, I don't have anything to contribute. I'm not a good Ruby developer, Rails developer. I don't know shit about web development at all. And that is kind of either easy or severe cases of the imposter syndrome, where you always think that there are some better developers than yourself, and the things that you know about writing software are not advanced, and you are just basically a newbie, and who would benefit from having me around while they pair program, etc., etc. So I want to talk a little bit about my own personal experience when I met up with Sam, Michael, John, Marian, and some other long-standing AgileVentures members that were around when I came around to this community, and my own personal feelings about this, because it wasn't easy. So I totally understand where some negative feelings can come from. But I also want to tell you and share with you guys, the benefits of actually doing it and overcoming some of the initial fears, because it generally leads to a good thing. Yeah. So anyway, I stumbled upon Sam, Joseph, and the other guys that were involved in a loosely held together programming community when I was taking an online course with edX, that was the CS169 course. And to be honest, and I don't think I ever told this to anybody, so I'm sharing this with only the two of you present, apart from the few people that would watch this recording, that I actually jumped into the second part of the course rather than going through the first part and the second part as a sequence. The reason for that was that I came in late. I found the edX course late, so the second part was just about to start, and I thought that this would be a good thing to pick up. I've heard about Ruby on Rails, and I've heard about agile development, but I didn't know anything about it, and I thought that this could be a good learning experience. So I started to take that course, and I didn't understand what they were talking about. They were talking about some Ruby classes and this and that, and I knew a lot of PHP before, and I've done some C# or Java and shit like that, But I was falling behind, really. I was really falling behind, because I was like totally unaware of the Ruby environment, and I didn't know anything. So what I did was that I accessed the first part of the course, and I went through the first part and the second part simultaneously, basically. And I thought, I heard on the forums that there were people doing online programming. So I thought that if I could like jump in and ask a few questions, and I had tons of questions, and that was before I even knew that Stack Overflow existed. Then if I could come in and ask a few questions, perhaps that would help me in my learning process, and I could kind of move ahead a little bit and not fall behind as heavily as I did. So I joined in to a session, and I was really nervous. I remember it was Sam and Michael from the United States, and David from the UK, and they were working on the local support project. That project is still alive and kicking. It's one of the oldest projects in AgileVentures. And I just said, "Hi guys," you know. First, they didn't even notice I was there, so I felt really stupid because they were into some programming shit. And after a while, they said, "Oh, we have this guy Thomas. So how's it going?" Blah blah blah. So I said hi, and then they, you know, just went back to their coding, you know. And I was just, you know, I didn't understand what they were doing because they were doing some pretty advanced stuff that I haven't covered yet, you know. And I was just like totally lost. And I remember at some point they were about to write some specs for their acceptance test. They were writing that in RSpec. It's called this specific type of tests are called view specs, and they were writing an assertion if there was a certain CSS class or CSS tags present at the page while it was rendered, when a user was logged in or something. And they were kind of stuck, and they were kind of moving in a direction that I knew was perhaps not the best one. They were researching something with XPath. It's an old technique of asserting if there are some CSS elements on the page. And Capybara actually has much better methods for that. And the funny thing is that I ran into a similar problem just the day before, and I knew the answer, but I was too shy to actually say something. So I just kept my mouth shut, and I watched them do the things that I usually do when I run into some issues, and that is Google it, a lot of try and error, you know, check the documentation, this and that, and it kind of struck me that, so here I am, a total newbie, and I'm watching from what I perceived was 2 or 3 experienced programmers, and it came like a surprise to me that shit, these guys are behaving exactly the way I am behaving when I run into an issue or a problem. They basically Google the shit, and you know, just hit their heads against the wall a few times until they fix the problem. So after a while, when I kind of grown in confidence watching them not fixing the problem, so I said, guys, I think I know how to do this, and I was prepared to be the guy that would tell them how to solve this problem. But what they did was said, "Oh, great, Thomas, just grab the code and implement this solution." So they kind of forced me to go over to GitHub, clone the repository, fork the repository, clone it out to my computer, and I was able to write the spec properly. I wasn't able to fix it to make it go green, but I was able to write the right test. And then I pushed it up, back up. Somebody else took the code, and we could move forward. And that was my first contribution to AgileVentures. And I was really happy because it was my first pair programming session. You know, what I learned from that experience is that even the most experienced programmers can run into issues or problems that they just cannot solve. And sometimes the newbie in the crowd can actually hold the answer to a problem, which is a good thing. So the moral of the story is that that you, even if you're a new programmer, you know, you just recently started to learn how to code, there's nothing wrong with jumping into a session, observing, and you might find yourself in a similar situation that I found myself in a few years back, where you can actually be the guy or the girl that has the solution of a problem that some other people are stuck on. And that what you need to do when you run into an issue or a problem that you cannot solve is to do whatever it takes to solve it, whether it is Stack Overflowing it, or Googling it, or asking your neighbor or your grandmother or whoever. The answer may come from the most unexpected source. So don't be afraid of asking for help. And so I started to pair program a lot back in those days. Whenever I had a spare moment, I jumped into a pair programming session. Eventually, I initialized the website one project. Once I grow a little bit in confidence, I spoke to Sam and said, "Listen, how about us building a site for AgileVentures?" And he said, "Yeah, why don't you start a project like this?" And so I did. We put together a team of people. Back then, Sam became our client because in the Agile process, we want to have a client, a product owner, and the entire Scrum or Agile structure. And we started to code away, basically, and we had a few sets of requirements that we wanted to fulfill. And Website One became my kind of puppy, and I worked on it for 1.5 years or 2 years almost before I handed it over to Raul, and then eventually back to Sam. So he's the project manager of the project now. And about this, this thing that a lot of people are a little bit afraid of when they come into AgileVentures, where they're afraid that somebody will see me fail or see me make mistakes and stuff like that. So if you would take your time, and I really don't want you to do that, is to go over the hundreds of hours of pair programming sessions that we've held on Website One over the years. You will see how often it happens that we choose the wrong path, or we end up banging our head against the wall on a problem that in retrospective could be a silly problem. It could be a typo. It could be something that I today know exactly how to solve. Like back then, it was a learning experience. And I know I've been talking to a few employers that actually saw those videos and those recordings. And one of the things that strikes me and today when I'm in a position to hire people, I think it's a good thing to see the workflow of my future employee, to see how he approaches or she approaches problem solving, where you can see that they are not just being paralyzed by problems, but rather in a creative way, in a proactive way, try to solve them basically. And I know most of you guys have heard me say that before, but software development and building something for the web or what have you is a set of failures. As soon as you approach a new feature or something that you haven't done before, you will fail at some point. Implement a working solution at first. Then you try and you try and you try, and you will end up coming up with a solution that is working for you and that is good. But then you still have to refactor stuff and do a lot of things before you can actually ship it. So software development is a series of failures until you don't fail anymore. And it's the difference in how you deal with failure or mistakes or what have you that makes you a great developer, I would say. If you just keep on doing the same thing over and over again, that's the definition of insanity. But if you change your approach and you're creative with your problem-solving workflow, then it's just a positive thing. And if I can, if a developer or somebody that I'm supposed to work with in the future can show me, for instance, a few recordings on YouTube where he is actively developing software with some other developers and get stuff to work, I would just see that and perceive that as a good thing rather than a negative thing. So failing is not something negative. Failing is something positive, and you have to fail a lot of times, and that goes both in life and especially in software development, in order to succeed. So I wouldn't be afraid of that. So that's a little bit about my story. Do you guys have any questions for me? You know, I've been with AgileVentures for a long time, and I plan to stick around for at least a few more years. And I know that both you, Jenny, and Daniel have been at some meetings, some scrums online with AgileVentures. Do you want to share your experiences? Mm-hmm.
Well, as a guy that is just beginning to learn the basics and the fundamentals of the craft, I do find it valuable to listen to you guys and to also understand that at one point you guys were beginners and had the same feelings and struggling with the same issues as we are right now, which feels helpful. I don't know how much. I mean, the reason why I'm learning to program is that I want to have a better understanding of it in general, in order to, just being able to communicate with programmers. And I think that how I will be able to help out in something like AgileVentures will maybe not be necessarily solving the hardest issues in that you're handling, but maybe give a perspective of a person who does not know everything about it, but still understands what you guys are doing in general. So yeah, I think it's a great concept, and
yes,
definitely open enough to see if I'm going to be able to help out soon.
Absolutely. So you're touching upon a very important topic there, because a lot of our members are programmers and developers, or aspiring developers, or experienced developers, what have you. You know, but one of the aspects that we are trying to cover in our workflow and work with actively is the project management layer of a project, for instance, and also the interpersonal skills, and I mean, working in a remote environment like AgileVentures, where you have people scattered across the globe with time differences, cultural differences, language barriers, experience levels, etc., etc. It is a unique set of challenges that we are facing in our projects, and by overcoming those challenges, you grow as a person. I think I've picked up very invaluable lessons working with a lot of people. People that I've liked, but also people that I don't like, because sometimes you just don't click with certain types of people. And so a good thing in working in an organization that is based on volunteer basis only, you can always say, yeah, well, I don't want to work with this person, so I can move along, right, and then go to another project, etc. But it's a bigger challenge, and it's a better learning experience to stick around and see, okay, so I'm not getting along with this person. We have a different way of communicating or approaching things or what have you. But what can I do to overcome that? To still be productive and add value to the project itself by collaborating with this person. And the thing that you mentioned, that okay, so what if I am not into programming per se, or what can I contribute with if I'm not the best coder? I don't even want to become the coding ninja that everybody is hoping for. Not, but anyway. Well, I think that you can contribute with a lot of things, because the great thing with AgileVentures, and this is something that I like to think of myself, that I'm trying to employ at Craft Academy, the company I'm running, is that having people with different backgrounds and different experiences from different cultures, from different age groups, etc., actually creates a mixture where we can benefit from each other in a better way. You get a greater depth of knowledge than only programming. Because if we were just the stereotype nerdy guys between 15 and 25 that haven't done anything in our lives besides writing code, then I don't think our projects would be as good as they are, because that wouldn't, we would lack so much in terms of different influences, perspectives, etc. So I think that everybody can contribute with a lot of things, and since we are not only technology focused, but we want to have a have a depth in our groups of developers, that makes it possible, and it makes the AgileVentures community is very welcoming to all sort of people, and we would actually benefit, to be honest, we would benefit from having more UX people, designers, project managers, etc., because somehow the most active members tend to be the programming type, so we would probably be good off with even more diversity than we already have. Jenny, any thoughts on that, or no? She had to drop off. All right. So what's your plans for AgileVentures, Daniel? Do you plan to take part in any of the projects?
Yes. Well, I haven't really decided which one I will join yet, but I was thinking about maybe talking to you to see what project you think I could be helping out or contributing to the most. If that is with coding or not, I think is secondary. I think well, the will is there.
Absolutely, sounds great. Well, we I think I touched upon this on some of our conversations. We have this Project Unify project that we are in the process of finishing off the MVP for, and so we have this Gothenburg-based charity, and I would really love to see you involved in that, because I think you could contribute a lot in terms of not only helping us finishing off some features, but packaging it in a good way and helping those this particular charity to do something valuable with it, because I think it will be needed. A little bit of business development should be added as a little sprinkle on top of that project, and that then it can become a real success.
Sounds,
but I'll be talking to you about that.
Great.
All right. So if anybody wants to get some more perspective on how it is to work with AgileVentures, or how it is to work with remote and distributed teams of developers and do charitable projects in this open source, open process way, just feel free to Slack me. I'll try to host another session like this next week, where I'll be talking a little bit more about the soft skills and this extra set of skills that a developer needs apart from being a good programmer in order to succeed both professionally, but definitely in open source projects. I might not be the best guy to talk about this, because I'm generally sometimes I can be an asshole, but I have some ideas about this at least. I'll try to share that with you guys. All right. I guess that will settle for that. Thank you very much for showing up, Daniel, and thank you, Jenny, if you're watching this recording, and live long and prosper.
Bye-bye.